Hi, it's Wayne O'Keefe, and I'd just like to talk to you a bit about something that I've been working on for some time, and it's a way of dressing up your bait so that it makes it much more attractive to fish. Now, what happened is some years ago I was fishing at Kilcunda Beach. It's a surf beach. It's in southeast Victoria. It's pretty heavy surf there, but the salmon, the Australian salmon, can get very, very big in the area. So it's great fishing at times. Unfortunately, the time I was fishing, it wasn't. I'd been there for a couple of hours. I'd caught absolutely nothing. In fact, I didn't even get a bite. And in absolute desperation, I started looking at different ways, or thinking about different ways that I could use to catch some fish. Now, I tried a couple of different baits, but that didn't work. So I thought maybe, and then I had just a couple of additives that I used to my bait. Didn't make any difference. So I thought about casting out a lure, but the trouble is I didn't have anything heavy enough. I didn't have heavy metal slices to get through the surf. So my son had been eating some potato chips and we had some foil left over. So I took a little bit of that foil from the packet that those chips were in, and I tied it around my hook. 15 minutes later or thereabouts, boom, we get a nice salmon. First one of the day after hours of fishing. And what got better than that was that I keep using the same thing. I mean, the foil would come off sometimes because it's pretty makeshift, but after doing it for a while, I got 3 other fish. One of them a pretty big salmon. So look, it was worth the try at the time. What I did after that is then experiment a bit more, as I always do, with how I can use that when conditions get tough. So what I had done at the time was I just created what I call my scarecrow hook setup. And all it is, or all it was that. Okay, exactly that. In fact, looking at this hook, it might have been the very one, which is about 7 years ago. Anyway, what happens is I just tied a couple of pieces of the potato chip bag. I cut it into thin ribbons and tied one on there. That was just flashing around in the surf and with the bait on it, had the bait on it of course, and that's obviously what got the attention of those salmon. Now what happened is I put a couple of pieces on later on, but that's the first fish I caught was just that. And all that is made out of is a piece of that, say, any type of foil that you've got that's got a little bit of strength in it. And this is from a potato chip bag. Cut that into thin slices or thin ribbons and then tie that onto your hook so that it looks like that. Okay, the other side is actually green. You can see the maker's name on there. That there made the difference on a day when I wasn't getting anything else. Now, after doing a little bit of experimentation, I started to do some different things at times. I didn't use it all the time, but I did use it at times when I wasn't getting much action and when the water had some movement in it. So either if it was relatively still, say it was in a river or an estuary that wasn't flowing that fast, what I would do is, after tying on the foil that I was going to use onto a hook like this, I would then jig the bait a little bit every now and again, just to give a flash, just to give some movement. So I started to get a bit sophisticated because this one here has not only got that little piece of foil on there, but it actually has got, if you can see that, okay, a little bit of sparkle on it. Now, I started going to different places to see what I could buy. I started looking at lures and how they were made to actually attract fish and thinking all the time that you could dress up your hook to get those fish in. So I went to, I think it was a discount store or maybe even a party store, and I got these things here. Now all they are is pieces of wire with this little bit of sparkle sort of wrapped on them. So that's very, very fine, I think very, very fine sparkling ribbon or something, but they come in a variety of colors. What you can do is they've got wire in the center of it, so they're very, very easy to wind around a hook. So all that I've done here, I've taken that hook there And I've just wrapped this stuff around that to hold that on. Just a little bit of color there, but a little bit of silver. The same flash in the water that you see when small bait fish are turning and moving. Now, what I had done after that was to start just using that same type of ribbon like that to wrap on the tip of my hook, just to add on the shank of the hook, just to add a little bit of color. And sometimes this has really made a difference. So on this, I would use this in fresh water. I have some worms there with plenty of activity, but just wrapping that onto the hook like that can add just that little bit more flash of color. And on those hard days, it might be the difference between catching a fish and not. And at times, I remember when I was in the surf at one point, I had wrapped up to this much of that ribbon around the hook. So I've got the hook there. And I wasn't really catching anything. I had a bait on there, piece of pilchard. In the movement in the surf, that actually moved all the way up to, the surf action moved it all the way up to a swivel. It was when it was up at the swivel level that I eventually got a bite on that hook. And I think it was just because this was moving around in the water, got the attention of the fish, and they found the bait. So dressing up your bait can be as simple as just tying a little bit of sparkle, color. It could be a bit of potentially even a piece of string sometimes. Just something that makes a little bit of difference. On small circle hooks like that, I just added that much to it, just a little bit. Sometimes it's just one wraparound. So all it takes with this stuff, if you can get it at party shops or discount stores, is just to take your hook. You just have this little piece, and it comes in many, many colors, and you can experiment with that. Is just to wrap that round a couple of times like that. And then all you do then after that is just trim off the excess ends. Okay, makes it really, really simple. You trim it off close to the shank of the hook. Okay, and then what you've got is your hook set up with a little bit of color, a little bit of flash on it. And you can use anything to do that, and you can get quite creative. Sometimes just having a little bit of both the sparkle and a slight ribbon of a foil type material, just to add a little bit of color there. Now it's worthwhile trying it. Sometimes, I mean, you don't have to use it all the time. It's on those days when it's really, really tough. And if that is not working, sometimes what you can do, you can buy, I think some of the, tackle manufacturers actually produce this type of stuff. Well, it's sort of like a fairy dust for fishing, if you like. Tiny little silver and coloured sparkles. You can actually put that on your bait to add the same type of sparkle that the scales of small fish do. If fish are being hit by predators and all those scales coming off through the water, this stuff does the same job. And I've also used, when I've been using dough baits for things like trout in particular, I have made those dough baits and added that to it so that you get the sparkle on your dough bait at the same time. So it can work, it makes a difference, something different on the day. If nothing else is working, have a shot at this. So if you've liked this video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. And so for any more information on how to catch fish, go to my website, howtofish.com.au. Thanks. Now look, if you've used anything yourself, you've set up really unusual rigs, you've put a bit of colour on your hook or in your bait, if you've used something that's just sort of a little bit of left field thinking, just let us know. Comment below. It's great to share that with others because there's just so many amazing things that can catch fish we don't know of. And sometimes it's absolutely surprising. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. And for any more information on how to catch fish, go to my website, howtofish.com.au. Thanks.